You know, I did 3 designers, and I looked at them. I was surprised there because they were showing mini dresses and all of that. And here I am coming in from America, and I'm thinking that I'm going to see saris and salwar kameez and this and that and the others. No siree. These were swimwear, and I'm looking at it and I'm saying, oh, maybe it is because there are too many buyers in the room, and these guys now are making clothes for the world just like China is doing. Yes, they're doing that and more. But brand names in India, you create a brand name, man, you're done. You can sell almost anything that comes down the pike.
Well, while you were in India, we had Diwali Mela here, and of course, in the Diwali Mela, of course, you can see lots and lots of similar kinds of clothing. I mean, well, you see lots of saris and salwar kameez here. I think that's kind of funny that you went all the way to India to find bathing suits. Meanwhile, we went to the Diwali Mela to find saris and salwar kameez outfits. But the thing that is amazing to me is just how much textile there is in India, how much textile industry.
Expensive. It's very
all range.
Expensive.
You can go from very inexpensive.
Saris are cheaper here. Same type of saris, folks, is cheaper in Washington than you can find in Delhi. I mean, I love to have shirts made and pants made up there. Each pant cost me $100 this time. Wow. I mean, 5 years ago it was $50. 5 years prior to that it was $25. Prices are just enormously high. I don't know if this is sustainable.
Well, it's probably not sustainable, and actually the article in the Post points to that. India's population increased by 671 million people since 1970. Its per-person consumption has increased by $292 a year. In China, actually, the population didn't grow quite as much. It grew by 527 million people, but the consumption per person grew by $737. Per person.
Yeah.
What that tells you is China actually economically is doing much better than India is. And it is in all sorts of different respects. For example, just 13% of college-age Indians attend higher education institutes, which has barely increased from 10% back in the year 2000. China, on the other hand, its comparative proportion stands at 23%, which was up from 6% back in 2000. So you can say that China has done much more with its wealth over the last 10 years and over the last several decades. India will add 130 million people in the age bracket from 20 to 49 over the next 15 years. So again, you have this huge number of young people in the country, but you don't have enough, for example, schools, enough colleges, and enough jobs to sustain these people. So I think this population boom in India is in part due to the fact that we have improved our economy by so much in the last so many years.
Yeah.
But the pace of our infrastructure, of our schooling systems, of our healthcare systems, it just hasn't been up to pace. And even though you can go to cities like Delhi and see lots of improvement over the years, you aren't seeing it on the very basic human level the way you need to see it in order for the country to sustain this population boom. This was a very, very impressive article out of India, and I have to say, I mean, it's kind of scary. You'd like to feel good on the one hand, but it's very, very scary to see what's happening there.
You know, we always talk about China and India and the others, and we really think that everybody's just going so far away, so far ahead of the United States. United States is going to be second-class country. Well, the United States is not there. I want to say some good things about the United States. There was an article in the Bloomberg Business Week. You know, generally people say we are the United States of deferred maintenance. China is the People's Republic of deferred gratification. They save, invest, and build. We spend, borrow, and patch. This is, you know, Friedman, the famous writer for the New York Times. That's what he said. But there's a case to be made. Our people make 16 times more money than in China. China lives in much more poverty, and they will have many years to come back. By the way, folks, in 1500, China was the largest economy. In 1700, even India was a large economy. And 1600, the UK was a big economy, and so on and so forth. But while they were big, they did not make that contribution to the world that America did. America became rich in 1790. And ever since, America is the policeman of the world. They're the ones who help countries. I mean, talk about Israel. I want to digress a little bit from here. There was a wonderful article in Washington Post this week. Walter Pincus is the writer. And I support him for his courage, because in this town, if you ever talk anything against about Israel, anti-Semite is the first label that comes to you. But this man, what he was doing was comparing that Israel has now decided they want to cut their defense budget. So there's a case to be made that the America should also cut their defense budget. But within that context, what he did is he's telling us that 18% of the Israel's defense budget is supported by the United States of America. $3 billion every year on the start of the budget year are put in the Federal Reserve Bank for Israel. $3 billion every year without fail, okay? But not only that, now Federal Reserve needs to pay you interest when you put money in.
That's the part that really got me.
Yes, and the interest goes to Israel on those $3 billion.
So not only do they get that funding, they also make the interest on that funding.
On that funding, and you know what? They pay the loans that they have taken from the Import-Export Bank towards that. This is the most amazing thing I have ever heard. No one has spoken. I mean, you know the enormous number of people that know about the budget, but no one has talked about these $3 billion. I want to be supporting this guy because I know he will come under fire in the next 7 or 10 days. You will see this. But I want to make sure that this guy, folks, needs to be supported. He is very courageously said what we give to Israel.
Well, I think, he is being courageous, and I think what he's doing is not so much trying to hammer on Israel itself. He's exposing how the government interacts with this country and how the money is spent. There's so much that the government does which is not transparent to the average citizen or to the average resident of this country. We don't know how the government spends its money. We don't know what kinds of special setups and special deals are there for these countries. They're all negotiated behind the scenes.
I mean, he's talking about one deal. Folks, actually, the Assistant Secretary of Defense goes to Israel, signs a deal which says that if United States sells any type of weaponry, whether to Saudi Arabia or to Egypt or to any one of those countries in the Middle East, that we, the United States, will have to give Israel a better piece of equipment so that the